Have you ever felt like you see the world in a way that nobody else around you quite understands? Like you're picking up on things beneath the surface that most people completely miss? And have you ever wondered if there's something specific about how your mind works that explains why you feel so different, so caught between wanting to help everyone and desperately needing time alone to recharge? Well, if you're nodding right now, there's a really good chance you're an INFJ, and this message is specifically for you. Everyone else, you might want to head out now because we're going deep into what it actually means to be one of the rarest personality types walking around on this planet. What makes INFJs actually different from everyone else? Let's start with the basics, but we're not just going to throw statistics at you. Being an INFJ isn't just a label you slap on yourself because you got that result on a personality test one time. It's actually a specific way of processing information and moving through the world that comes with its own set of challenges, gifts, and honestly, some pretty unusual superpowers that most people don't recognize until you point them out. INFJs make up somewhere between 1% and 2% of the population. To give you a sense of what that means, if you're sitting in a room with 100 people, statistically, you're probably the only INFJ there. That kind of rarity matters because it means you've spent your whole life being the person who doesn't quite fit, who thinks differently, who sees angles that other people miss. And that's not something small. That's foundational to understanding who you are. The thing about being this rare is that it creates this specific experience where you're constantly translating yourself for other people. You learn to code switch without even realizing you're doing it. You figure out what version of yourself works in different situations. And you get really good at mirroring people because you pick up on their emotional states so intensely that you almost naturally reflect them back. But here's the kicker. That constant translating, that constant mirroring and adjusting, it's exhausting in a way that other personality types don't really experience. The 4 functions that drive your mind. To really understand why you work the way you do, we need to talk about the cognitive functions. This is where personality theory gets real, because functions are about how your brain actually processes information, not just what you prefer. For INFJs, your primary function is introverted intuition, or NI. This is your lens. This is how you look at the world. Introverted intuition is about seeing patterns and connections that live underneath the surface. It's not about facts or details. That's something else entirely. NI is about grasping the underlying principle, the core truth, the meaning beneath meaning. When you walk into a room, you're not just seeing people sitting down. You're picking up on the dynamics, the tensions, the unspoken things hanging in the air. You're connecting dots that other people don't even see as dots yet. That's an I doing its thing. Your secondary function is extrovert feeling, or FE. And here's where things get interesting because FE is about emotional resonance and harmony with other people. It's about understanding what people need, reading their faces, picking up on their moods, and genuinely wanting to help make things better for them. FE combined with NI creates this really specific experience where you understand people deeply and immediately, but sometimes at the cost of understanding yourself. You're so tuned into what others need that your own needs can get pushed way down the list. Your tertiary function is introverted thinking, T, and this shows up as your ability to analyze complex systems and understand how things logically fit together. This is different from FE. T doesn't care about people's feelings. It cares about truth and accuracy and understanding how something actually works beneath the surface. This function often doesn't get as much attention as it deserves in INFJ conversations, but it's crucial because it helps you cut through the noise and see what's actually true versus what people want you to believe. And then there's your aspirational function, extrovert sensing, or say. This is the part of you that sometimes envies people who can just exist in the moment, who don't overthink everything, who can enjoy the present without constantly thinking about what it all means. Say is about noticing details, experiencing sensations, staying grounded in the here and now. For INFJs, developing this function is actually one of your biggest growth opportunities because it helps you stop living so much in your head. Why you feel everything so intensely. If you're an INFJ, you probably have this experience where emotions feel bigger than they seem to be for other people. You can feel devastated by something that someone else seems to brush off easily. You can be moved to tears by something beautiful in a way that feels disproportionate. And you might think that means you're too sensitive or that you need to toughen up. But actually, that's just how your system works, and there's nothing wrong with it. Your combination of NI and FE means you're not just perceiving emotions. You're reading them from the world around you and integrating them into your own emotional experience. When someone you care about is struggling, you don't just notice it intellectually. You feel it. You absorb it. Sometimes you can't really tell where their pain ends and yours begins. That's not weakness. That's actually a profound form of empathy that most people never access. The thing is, this intensity can become a real problem if you don't understand it and learn how to manage it. You can burn yourself out trying to fix other people's problems because you feel them as if they're your own. You can get overwhelmed by the weight of the world and the suffering you pick up on constantly. You can end up in relationships where you're pouring all your energy into someone else's growth while neglecting your own. And none of that is sustainable. None of that is actually helping anyone, including you. The INFJ relationship paradox. Here's something that doesn't get talked about enough with INFJs. You have this complicated relationship with connection. You crave deep, meaningful relationships where someone really understands you. You want to feel seen and known on a level that's rare and real. But at the same time, you're incredibly selective about who gets access to your inner world, and you're constantly testing people to see if they're trustworthy enough to let close. This creates this pattern where people feel pushed away by you sometimes, and that confuses them because you're usually so caring and tuned into them. But what's happening is that your NI is running constant threat assessments. It's scanning for people who might hurt you, who might betray you, who might not actually be who they're pretending to be. Your FE might want connection, but your NI is protective, almost to a paranoid degree sometimes. The other thing about INFJ relationships is that you need your space. A lot of space. Way more than other people seem to need. And this can create conflict because the people who care about you might not understand why you're suddenly withdrawing, why you're not responding to messages, why you need to be alone. They take it personally. But for you, that alone time isn't optional. It's essential. It's how you recharge. It's how you process all the emotional information you've absorbed. Without it, you start to feel like you're drowning. Romantic relationships are where this gets really complicated. You can fall hard and fast for someone because your NI picks up on their potential and your FE wants to nurture them and help them become their best self. But here's the dangerous part. You can fall in love with who you think someone could be, not who they actually are right now. And then you spend years trying to help them see their potential, trying to support them into becoming the person you already see them as. It's exhausting and it rarely works out the way you hope. Your hidden struggle with self-worth. One of the most important things to understand about being an INFJ is that despite how together you might appear on the outside, you often wrestle with deep questions about your own worth and value. This might sound surprising because you're usually so good at seeing the value in other people. You're excellent at pointing out someone's gifts and potential. But when it comes to recognizing your own gifts, you often fall short. Part of this comes from the fact that you're so focused on other people that you lose sight of yourself. Your FE is naturally oriented outward, toward understanding and helping others. And your NI is so focused on seeing underlying patterns and meanings that it can turn that lens inward in a brutal way. You end up analyzing yourself constantly, wondering if you're doing enough, being enough, contributing enough. There's also this specific thing that happens with INFJs where you can feel like your greatest gifts are also your greatest burdens. Your ability to see into people and situations deeply is beautiful, but it also means you pick up on pain, conflict, and dysfunction that other people miss. You see what's wrong, what needs to change, what people should be doing differently. And because you care so much, you feel responsible for fixing it. When you can't fix it, you feel like you failed somehow. The truth is, your worth isn't dependent on how much you can do for other people or how much pain you can alleviate in the world. Your worth is inherent. It exists just because you exist. This is something most INFJs need to hear again and again and believe in their bones because it doesn't come naturally. You have to learn it, practice it, remind yourself of it constantly. The burnout cycle that INFJs need to recognize. INFJs are particularly vulnerable to a specific kind of burnout that comes from overextending emotionally and then hitting a wall. It usually follows a pattern. You're doing great, helping people, making a difference. You feel fulfilled because you're living out your values. But gradually, almost without noticing it happening, you're giving more than you're getting back. You're absorbing everyone else's stress and not releasing it. You're taking on their problems as if they're your own. And then one day, something small happens and you completely explode. You snap at someone you love. You feel anger or resentment that seems out of proportion. Or you swing the other way and you just shut down completely. You go numb. You withdraw. You can't access the empathy that usually flows so naturally. And if you don't understand what's happening, you think something's wrong with you. You think you become a bad person or that you're failing at something fundamental. But what's actually happened is that you've hit the limit of what you can absorb and process without proper boundaries and self-care. Your system is telling you that something needs to change. Usually what needs to change is that you need to start prioritizing your own needs as seriously as you prioritize everyone else's. The burnout cycle for INFJs often involves cycling between periods of intense giving and then pulling back completely. In the giving phase, you're overcommit, overextended, and running on empty. In the withdrawal phase, you're protecting yourself, but you might also be being punishing to yourself or to others because you're resentful about how much you gave. Breaking this cycle requires learning to maintain boundaries that feel natural and okay to you, even when you're worried that setting boundaries means you're being selfish or uncaring. Why your career path is usually complicated. INFJs often struggle with finding their place in the working world because most jobs don't align perfectly with how you're wired. You want your work to mean something. You need it to connect to your values. A job that's just a job that doesn't contribute to something you believe in will slowly drain your soul. You can do it for a while, but eventually you'll start to feel empty. The thing is, a lot of INFJ career paths look similar on the surface: counseling, social work, teaching, nonprofit work, creative fields. These draw INFJs because they allow you to use your gifts of understanding people and seeing potential to help and contribute. But here's where it gets tricky. These fields often involve a lot of emotional labor, and they often don't set up healthy boundaries very well. You can end up in a situation where you're giving so much emotionally that you have nothing left for yourself. There's also this tendency for INFJs to stay in situations way too long. You're so aware of people's needs and so committed to following through that you'll keep showing up for a job, a relationship, a situation long after it's healthy for you. You're waiting for things to improve, waiting for people to change, waiting for your hard work to finally pay off. And meanwhile, you're getting more and more exhausted. What INFJs often need to learn is that it's okay to leave. It's okay to recognize that a situation isn't working and to step away from it. That's not abandonment. That's not selfish. That's actually an important form of self-respect. When you leave situations that aren't serving you, you're not just helping yourself. You're also opening up space for someone else to step in, for systems to change, for new possibilities to emerge. The creative side of being an INFJ. One thing that doesn't get talked about enough is that INFJs are often genuinely creative, not in a loud, flashy way that some personality types are, but in a deep, visionary way. Your NI is constantly creating patterns, seeing connections, imagining possibilities. Your Fae gives you insight into human experience that translates beautifully into art, writing, music, and other creative forms. If you felt drawn to creative expression, that's not random. That's your natural way of processing the world and communicating what you see. Many INFJs find that creative work is one of the most healing things they can do because it lets you take all the internal complexity and give it form. It's like translating your internal world into something that other people can access and understand. And often, when INFJs create from that authentic place, their work really resonates with people because it touches something true and deep. The challenge is that the creative fields aren't always set up to support INFJs either. There's a lot of networking, self-promotion, and constant visibility that can feel exhausting. There's also often a disconnect between the vision you have in your head and what you're actually able to produce with the time and resources available. But even with these challenges, many INFJs find that pursuing their creative interests is essential to their well-being. Building relationships that actually work for INFJs. So we've talked about how complicated relationships can be for INFJs. Let's talk about what actually works. First, you need to find people who respect your need for space and time alone. This is non-negotiable. Anyone who tries to make you feel guilty about needing alone time or who interprets your withdrawals as rejection isn't a good fit for you, at least not without some serious communication and understanding. You also need people who are willing to be direct with you. INFJs can read between the lines in ways that might not actually be accurate. You're picking up on subtleties that might not even be real. So when people are direct and clear with you, it actually helps. You don't have to spend energy trying to figure out what they really mean. You can just take what they say at face value. The relationships that work best for INFJs are usually ones where there's genuine reciprocity. You're giving a lot, as we've established, but you need to be with people who give back, who care about your well-being as much as you care about theirs. If you're always the one doing the emotional labor in relationships, if you're always the one figuring out what people need and providing it, that's not balance and it's not healthy. It's also really important for INFJs to be around people who engage with reality at a similar level to how you do. You need people who think about things deeply, who ask questions about meaning and purpose, who aren't satisfied with surface-level explanations. Being around people who are constantly focused on superficial things, or who don't engage intellectually or spiritually can feel isolating, even if they're nice people. Learning to trust your gut instincts. Your NI is basically a superpower for reading situations and people accurately. Over and over, research and real-world stories confirm that INFJs are often weirdly accurate when they get a bad feeling about something or someone. Your gut instinct is picking up on patterns and inconsistencies that your conscious mind hasn't fully processed yet. Learning to trust that instinct rather than second-guessing yourself or try to give people the benefit of the doubt is really important. This is particularly true in relationships where you notice something off, but you rationalize it away because you care about the person or because you want them to be okay. Your NI is trying to tell you something. It might be right. That doesn't mean you have to act on it immediately, but it means you should pay attention to it and investigate a little. The thing is, your Fae can sometimes override your NI because you're so focused on not judging people, on being understanding, on seeing the best in them. But your best self is actually when both of these functions are working together. Your NI sees what's true, and your Fae holds that truth with compassion. It's not cruel to recognize when something or someone isn't right for you. It's actually a form of wisdom, the gift and challenge of your sensitivity. We've talked about how you feel everything intensely, but let's get specific about what that means as a gift. Your sensitivity is what allows you to connect with people on a deep level. It's what makes you aware of when someone's hurting even if they're trying to hide it. It's what lets you understand context and nuance in ways that other people miss. Your sensitivity is why you can be so effective as a counselor, a coach, a friend, a partner, because people feel understood by you in a way they don't experience with most people. The challenge is learning how to protect that sensitivity without shutting it down completely. Some INFJs try to solve this problem by numbing themselves or becoming more cynical or detached. But that doesn't actually work because you can't selectively numb. When you numb the pain, you also numb the joy, the wonder, the connection. You become less of yourself. What actually works is learning to manage the input, setting boundaries about how much negative information you consume, being selective about whose emotions you're regularly exposed to, creating practices that help you release what you've absorbed so it doesn't build up and become toxic. Exercise, time in nature, creative pursuits, therapy, meditation, whatever helps you process and release the emotional weight you're carrying. Moving forward, creating a life that actually fits you. As we wrap this up, I want to leave you with something important. You don't have to keep trying to fit into a world that wasn't designed for how you work. There's nothing wrong with you. You're not broken. You're not too sensitive or too deep or too much. You're actually exactly right the way you are. What you need is to build a life that actually works with your nature instead of constantly fighting against it. That means being honest about what you need and what you don't. It means not automatically saying yes to every opportunity to help or give. It means choosing carefully the people and situations and work that you let into your life. It means recognizing that taking care of yourself isn't selfish. It's actually the most generous thing you can do because it ensures you have something real to give to people you care about. It means trusting your instincts even when other people don't understand them. It means being okay with being different and rare. It means accepting that you'll probably never be the kind of person who just relaxes at parties or gets comfortable in large groups quickly. And it means finding your people, the ones who get why you work the way you do and love you for it anyway. You have so much to offer the world. Your depth, your insight, your compassion, your commitment to what's real and true. The world needs INFJs, even though we're rare. So stop trying to be anyone other than who you actually are. You're already enough. Conclusion: your rarity is your strength. Being an INFJ means walking through a world that wasn't built for you, but it also means that you have access to ways of understanding and connecting that most people will never experience. Yes, it's harder in some ways. Yes, you get tired. Yes, you feel things that seem overwhelming, but you also see beauty that other people miss. You love deeply. You make a real difference in the lives of people around you. You understand what matters. This message is for you because you deserve to know that there's nothing wrong with you. The times you feel exhausted, the times you withdraw, the times you need space, the times you struggle with your worth, the times you're overwhelmed by the world's pain, all of those are part of what it means to be INFJ. And they're also part of what makes you special. You're going to be okay. Not because life is always going to be easy, but because you have the capacity to understand deeply, to adapt when necessary, and to find meaning in difficulty. That's your superpower. That's what you bring to the world. So be gentle with yourself. Trust your gut. Set your boundaries. And know that there are other INFJs out there who get exactly what you're experiencing, even if you feel alone sometimes. You're not as rare as you think when you look for your people. And when you find them, those connections will be exactly the kind of deep, real, meaningful relationships you've been craving all along.